In today's show, first-time guest Conor Bergin of Blazers Edge joins the program, and we talk about all things from the first week of Blazers training camp. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday. That's Monday through Friday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen and tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, a first-time guest, but I expect likely a returning one in the future, from Blazers Edge, Conor Bergin. How you doing, Conor?
Good, Mike. Thanks for having me, man. Like I said at Media Day, longtime listener of the show, so it's cool to be on.
All right. Well, I hope that this is not, I hope this is just your maiden voyage and not your solo one act, and that you get to come back again. I've known Conor now for almost 4 whole days. As you're listening to this, we're 5 days into a budding Blazers media relationship. Conor's covering the team this year for Blazers Edge in the arena. So he's going to have you covered on, game day, with reports live from in the building, talking to the principal characters. As if you're a longtime listener to the program, you know that I believe when the people involved talk, you should listen, and having another voice bringing you that perspective is going to be super valuable. So I'm excited to have Conor involved in Blazers media and also on the podcast. Let's just start here. We're 3 days into this thing. You were listening to Friday, October 4th show, but this is going to come out prior to the practice on Friday. So we're 6 practices and a media day in. What are your early impressions of this team? Like, sort of big picture stuff. Where do you think this team is?
Yeah, I mean, the piece I wrote about Media Day was just all about, like, they have no clarity right now still. And I know after listening last year to your show that, like, that was a big thing, talking about needing data. And, like, I wrote a piece last year about all the injuries and, like, how the main 4, like Simons, Sharp, Aiden, and Scoot, who I think are, like, kind of like the 4 main young guys. They played 5 times together last year. And, like, you just couldn't get a lot from it. And after I wrote that piece in, like, March, there was a month left of the season. I was, like, still, like, since then I've been waiting just for this season to start and get some of those answers about Scoot, about Sharp, like, how good is Sharp, how good is Scoot? Like, we don't fully know yet. Like, is Scoot gonna, establish himself as the main point guard, and can they trade Simons, or are they still thinking about keeping Simons? So, like, there's just so much that we don't know yet because they haven't been able to play super consistently. So they've going to get some answers.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I kind of have felt since it was clear that Shaedon Sharp wasn't coming back, that last year was such a lost year. And then they don't do anything this summer. They basically just, they traded for Denny Avdia. He's going to be probably pretty helpful. We'll talk about him in a little bit, but, like, it's the same team. It's 13 returning players, right? So it's like, not only do we not know anything, we don't know anything, and it's the same returning crew. So it has a unique feel to it. You've been at the practices this week. You've been out at the PF, the newly refloored practice facility. What's the vibe like at the practice facility? Are guys, is this like is there still excitement, or what's your sort of read on the general vibe of guys? We're like I said, 6 practices into this thing.
I mean, yeah, it's hard to tell, like, a little bit, because I'm not, like, watching practices, as you probably know. Like, they bring them out afterwards, so, like, they're just, maybe they're not super jacked up to talk to me, but like,
they never are. Welcome to the game. They never are.
People seem like relaxed, like very chill. Like, a lot of them are pretty soft spoken. Like Chauncey, I find very soft spoken. But, like, they've been saying that they've been trying to play fast again, which we hear every year that they're trying to play fast, but they said that they've been hammering that, and, like, Denny's going to help with that. The one thing that has been sticking out is Scoot's confidence. Like, you heard so much this summer about he had some bad workout somewhere. I don't know where, but some guy said like, "Oh, he
Oh,
didn't
it
look
was
that
he was
great."
I think it was in the Rico Hines runs and
Yeah,
working
like
out at UCLA is that yeah, David Thorpe of True Hoop, who like works with NBA guys, is an NBA trainer and a longtime workout guy, said like Scoot was the worst player he saw play this summer. Can't
yeah,
can't
which is
shoot, can't defend, can't finish. And it's like in the rest of that piece, it wasn't like a lot of other dudes got torn down. It was like one particular paragraph where like, oh, by the way, Scoot
weird,
sucks.
a
Yeah, and it was
weirdly
like,
deliberate shot at
yeah,
Scoot. Yeah.
I don't
So
think that was necessarily an axe to grind, but it was a very specific target. Like, yeah, and I saw this guy and he stinks.
yeah, so like after hearing all that, it was kind of like, okay, like what's this year going to be like? And he obviously played better at the end. I was just interested to see if his confidence seemed rattled at all. People asked him, like, I think point blank, is your confidence rattled? And he's just been giving the same answers he gave last summer. Like the quote at media day was, "I'm want to be the best, one of the best point guards ever," and I'll stand
Yep.
by that. So like, he has not. He's not worried at all. It seems like from his perspective. So
That's curious because I think heading into the season last year, like just media day, basically this time last year, I thought Scoot had so much like bravado and so much of just sort of the charisma that it takes to be like the team leader. And no one really else on the Blazers roster. You mentioned soft spoken. No one else really has that like oomph, that kind of like
well,
gravitas type of stuff. Like even at media day, they're talking about like Jeremy Grant's becoming a leader, and Jeremy at like 30 is like, yeah, I'm working on it. It's like, okay, well, I don't think I just don't think you're gonna
Simons
be that.
too. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like, I
like I
don't think
remember
you're gonna
last
be
year.
that, man. Yeah,
Yeah, last year they were like Simons is going to step into the leadership role, and I think obviously it seems like he's doing it more so. But like they're just kind of the first like 5 interviews at media day were all laid back until
yeah,
we got to DeAndre Ayton, which maybe we'll talk about in a moment. But
yeah.
he was the most exciting part of the whole first week to me was that interview he did at media day.
Oh yeah, he was jazzed at media day. He was pretty jazzed at media day last year. I think DeAndre Ayton likes the first day of school. He's one of those first day of school guys. Like he wants to show off his new clothes. He's excited to see who's all in his classes. He really is. He hasn't developed any feuds with teachers yet, so he's excited to see all his new teachers. And then like the school year starts, and he's like, "Oh, I think school sucks actually." So but yeah, he was pretty jazzed at both media days with the Blazers. He's had a lot of energy. What is your sort of outlook on Scoot? Are you a believer? Are you a wait and see guy? Like
Man,
where are you with Scoot? Because year one was not good.
I'm definitely a wait and see guy. Yeah, like you said, year one wasn't super good. I'm the ending did give me some like positive vibes. Like I'm definitely,
Sure.
and I wasn't writing him off before. I was not gonna write an article of like he's a bust or anything.
Yeah.
But I definitely like don't feel like it's anything certain right now. Like whether he can be a star or like a starter. I think he'll. I don't think he's going to be like a flame out of the league. Like I don't think it's that low. Like I think he'll have a career, but just how high? Yeah, if he reaches like superstardom, like I have no idea about that. I'm waiting.
Right.
I'm a Shaden Sharp guy.
Okay.
He's the
Okay.
guy who
So
I think
I would
he's
agree
like
that
the key right now.
Yeah, I would agree that he has the highest ceiling. He has a wide range of outcomes. But you're a believer. What gives you why? We've seen what I can probably do this math real quick. 122 games of Shaden Sharp, I believe. 80 plus 32. Is that how that works? 112 games of Shaden Sharp. In the 112 games of Shaden Sharp, what gives you positive vibes? Why are you a believer?
Yeah, I think just during the stretches where he was so good last year, he could take one dribble and jump and he would be at the rim and like get at the very least draw a foul and like that type of gravity. Like I don't think I had like seen it like that type of athleticism at least because like Dame was super good, but he was like shooting a lot, like not really like above the rim.
Right.
Shaden, just that aspect of like he can get to the rim. It seems like anytime he wants, if he realizes it a little bit, like sometimes
Yeah.
it's like dude, just like put your head down and go. And then on top of that, the shooting is, I think, pretty good too. So like just those two together, yeah. To answer your question, it's just like the above the rim athleticism. Like
Yeah, he definitely has that the aesthetics of a star. Like he has that ability to get that the finishing, or the finishing is not quite there. He wasn't as good off the dribble as a finisher as I thought maybe we would have hoped, but maybe some of that was just like horrendous team context. And if maybe he plays with better teammates and kind of turns up his dial a little bit, he'll be better.
I did think like that stretch where he did really bad was when they had him do everything, and like I think Simons and Scoot were hurt, and like he was playing the most minutes in the NBA, and he had all those turnovers. Like I think that was more of what he was playing through at the time, like with the teammates around him. So
yeah, and it's like, and during that stretch, like he was putting up big numbers, but like he was playing a cajillion minutes, and then his just like it fell apart for him. I think there were times early in the season though last year when he was playing like a relatively normal role when you could see what he could be, and I think that's the challenge for me. That's the challenge for him is like if he is a guy who is like say on the starting lineup now. Say I assume he's going to be the starting shooting guard, but like Anthony Simon's going to get his, Jeremy Grant's going to get his, DeAndre Ayton's going to get his. They're going to try to do a lot with Denny apparently to kind of get him involved. That means there's a chance that Shaedon Sharpe is sort of the fifth option on offense in the starting group, which is like, maybe not the best plan. Yeah, maybe not the best plan, but like, yeah, but can he be really smart and assertive when he gets his chances, when he isn't like scripted to do stuff? I think that's the challenge for him, because when he was playing all those minutes and it was like, go, here's the ball, go get it. Like, sure, he had some efficiency issues, but like you could see his ability to manipulate and dribble and make some plays. He's an improving playmaker, although he's not very good at it yet, but he's certainly way better than he was when he came into the league. So like, yeah, it's, I think the challenge for him is like, when it's not like, when it isn't Shaedon time, can he still be like, show you all the things? Can he show you the rim attacking and all the shooting? And like I said, he has the aesthetics of a star because the jumper is so pretty. It doesn't always go in at the level that it looks so good. It looks so good.
Chauncey even said last year, he said that quote, like, I have to tell him, and like I have to like draw up specific plays to get him going. So, and the other thing I think that's so funny is like we were talking about Scoot's quote about like, I want to be the greatest NBA player ever, and then basically asked Sharpe the same thing at media day, and he just was like, I want to improve. Like, I want to develop.
Yeah.
It's so very subtle.
Shaedon, I would say that Shaedon's media day interview was the best interview he has ever done. And well, yeah, it was. The bar is low. The bar is low. Okay, let's talk Denny and DeAndre Ayton a little bit in the second segment. Join us there, won't ya? First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by Gametime, the place for last-minute tickets. Whether you want to go to sporting events or comedy shows, concerts, or live theater, you're going to find all of the best deals on Gametime. Plus, they've got Gametime picks. They have curated picks to make it easier for you to save more on the events you want to go to. So pull up the app, say, give me those Gametime picks. They'll pick section by section the best deals, their recommendations, and find out what, they'll learn what you like and give you the best recommendations possible. Plus, the app is super easy to use. What I like to do is toggle all-in pricing. So what you see is what you get. There's no surprises at checkout. You just got to toggle that on. And then as you're browsing, you'll know exactly what you're going to pay when you get to checkout. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redemption code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDON NBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. All right, still chatting here with Conor Bergin of Blazers Edge. Conor, the Blazers made one move. They made two moves, I guess. They drafted Donovan Clingan. We'll talk about him. But they made one real move this offseason, maybe an offseason where certain podcasters were hoping they would make lots of moves in order to create just lots of slop for the old content mill. But it didn't happen that way. They made one move, draft day. They got Denny Avdia. They paid a decent haul for him. He was clearly a guy they really wanted. You pay 2 first-round picks and Malcolm Brogdon in a couple seconds. Like, that's someone that you really want, right? You pay the price. He's going to start at small forward, or probably more accurately forward. And he's going to be asked to do many things. How do you sort of view Denny's role on this team in his first season with the Blazers?
Yeah, I asked, that was like the topic of when I was angling at practice yesterday. That was the questions I was asking, trying to like get an idea of how they want to use them. And it seems like Chauncey was talking about like secondary playmaker, can play off the ball, on the ball. Kind of vague, I guess.
Yeah, he can't tell you just yet. So yeah,
but
exactly.
it does seem like they want to use him. Like he's not just going to be camped in the corner. It sounds like shooting
Right.
threes. Like they are going to be allowing him to initiate stuff. I think they talked about like when Anthony Simons gets blitzed or just like he can be that outlet valve that they didn't really have at forward last year. Like
Right.
like no knock on like Tumani Kamara and Matisse Thybulle, who like are both good players for their own reasons, but like playmaking and
They can't
driving,
dribble.
yeah,
They can't
driving
dribble.
to the hoop is
It's
not
hard to
their deal.
yeah.
And
It's hard to
so
throw
like
it to someone to make plays if they can't dribble and pass. And I think the
yeah,
Blazers they desperately needed someone else who can dribble and pass for sure.
it's basically like since Josh Hart left, like they haven't
Right.
and he probably shouldn't even been a small forward. So like this is the first guy he's like 6'9". I mean, that's crazy to hear after the Norman Powell years that they have and forcing Shaedon Sharpe to play small forward or whatever like that. They have a 6'9", like legitimate 3 or 4 guy. So and Scoot even mentioned like that if he needs to play off the ball, he'll pass the ball to Denny. He's like he can do that. So just a secondary playmaker.
Yeah, I was impressed with how many guys. I mean, obviously everyone's gonna be like directly asked about it, so it's kind of like it feeds itself. But like guys were really impressed with Denny. I would say the difference in like the answers about Denny Avdia, they're like, "Yo, he can help," and versus the answers about Donovan Clingan were like, he's good and learning the game. It's like you kind of like get the difference. Is like, oh yeah, one of these dudes is a 20-year-old who's like people can see the skill, and the other one is entering his 5th NBA season. And like Denny's young, he's 23, but it's like 4 years in the NBA is a lot, right? That's a lot of experience, and he's played. He was a regular contributor early in his career, so he's played a ton of NBA basketball. And so like you just hear from his new teammates, new coworkers, they're like, yeah, he's going to help us. And everyone has a different way. Like Tumani's like, yeah, he's going to be so helpful on defense. Anthony Simons, like you said, is like, oh, he's going to be my release valve when I get trapped. And I really liked when Chauncey was like, yeah, you see a passion that he plays with. And like, basically when people don't play hard or don't dive on the floor at practice, he yells at them. And I was like, yeah, they kind of need that. I do think they kind of need that. Like we've been talking about, they maybe don't have that like emotional rah guy. Shaedon Sharpe is not that. I don't think Anthony Simons is that. He might grow into more of that, but he's not that. Clearly Jeremy Grant isn't. I don't think I can't imagine DeAndre Ayton being that way. I can imagine him yelling, but I can't imagine him like commanding the room just because he seems a little goofy.
Seems like a positivity yell, Like,
totally. Yeah. Exactly. He's more of a gasser, as they say, like that, as opposed to like an enforcer, like a disciplinarian. So like someone like Denny who will would cuss you out when you don't play right. I think it could be really valuable for them, much less all of his other skills, right? The passing and the shooting and stuff. To me, it's.
Oh, sorry, but today at practice, I asked Jeremy Grant about like who's trash talking. His first name was Denny. He said Denny was talking the most trash.
Good.
So
I like to see. I like to see it. Yeah, I saw the Tumani Kamara being asked about that and saying he doesn't talk trash. I saw Tumani Kamara talk trash to LeBron James his rookie season. So I'm sorry
That's what I thought, because I asked him that question, and I remember like Danny Meringue was telling like the Blazers Edge chat last year that like Tumani was like the biggest trash talker. Maybe he was tweeting it, and he's playing it coy for sure.
Yeah, there was he literally like in the first quarter, not the first play of the game, but in the first quarter against the Lakers, he like got a rebound and did the thing where you like take the like after the Blazers score and he like it did like a hard hand to LeBron. He's like, "Your ball, dog," and like and LeBron looked at him like, "No, like I don't like." No, like I'm sure he said, "I don't know who you are," but it's LeBron James. He knows who he is. So it's like, but LeBron's like, kid, absolutely not. And they kind of got into it for a second. It was like, and Tumani didn't back down because he's like that kind of guy. So he definitely talks smack. But again, he's not a rah guy. He's maybe a dude who plays with intensity, but there's a different outward intensity versus that internal intensity. I think that's like a tough balance. I want to ask your opinion on DeAndre Ayton. I'm probably lower on Ayton than like most would say than most. I just don't love his game. Where are you at with DA heading into year 2 after 1 year in Portland?
Yeah, like I guess I think he's like a serviceable numbers guy at center.
Yeah.
And like the whole controversy of like when they drafted Donovan and like, oh, like they need to trade DA. I don't view it like that. Like I think they'll be fine this year, and they're going to need offense, and like
Yeah.
DeAndre Ayton is going to do that this year with Scoot and be like a solid center to be doing pick and rolls with Shaden, like developing young guards. But I guess like I don't view them investing in him like after this contract's up. Like I would imagine, I don't think he's the long term building block at center. So that's kind of where I stand with him.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's not like he's bad. Like I don't, even when I say like I'm lower on him than most, like I don't think he's bad. I just think what he does, and what he does is that he aces 17-footers. He's an okay defensive player. He's a good rebounder, and he makes mid-range jumpers pretty much better than everyone else in the NBA. And it's like, I guess for me, it's like, what can you build with that? What does that get you, right? Like if a center who's not like an elite rim guy and not an elite defender. He did say though, and to his credit, he did say the right things at media day. He said that he wanted to play with physicality. He wanted to attack the rim off the dribble, and he wanted to get to the free throw line. I've talked a lot about him shooting threes. I don't give a hoot. If DeAndre Ayton attacks the rim off the dribble, draws fouls, and gets to the free throw line, he's going to be 50% better than he's ever been in his career, right? Like that's a huge jump for him because he hasn't been a free throw guy and he doesn't really score off the bounce. But what if he played with physicality and purpose? Like that would be a totally different thing.
Yeah, no, like that stretch where he was killing it at the end of the year last season. I compiled up the stats, and like I think it was like 1.3 free throw attempts per game during that. Then that was like the best stretch of the year, and he was doing awesome. But like, he
was averaging 20 and 10, right? Like he was like legitimately good, but there's some things he just doesn't do.
It's funny because like people were so frustrated with the use of Nurkic and the flippy shot, and then with DeAndre Ayton, it was like kind of a like different animal of a problem, but like kind of the same thing. Where like just his, like you said, not going to the rim super strong, like a lot of like far away hook shots, or just like depending on the mid range. And I think my whole opinion would change if he wasn't making like so much money. Like if
100%. If he was making $17 million a year, you'd be like, this dude rocks.
Exactly.
Like this dude rocks. Like he's so good.
He paid so much. So that's
at $35 million. It's like, well, why is this guy like a little better than Nurk, like for twice as much money? It feels you feel it, right? And maybe this is like the poison of public contracts, right? It's like maybe me and you, Connor, shouldn't know how much money DeAndre Ayton makes, right? Because if it wasn't so public and so like we could go to Spot Track and be like, he makes 33% of the salary cap or whatever it is, I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it's somewhere in that range. It's like, if we didn't see that number, maybe we would feel different about him, but we can't. We know it, and everybody knows it. And so everybody feels it when like I mentioned this with back in the day with Yusuf Nurkic, is like the worst thing that could happen is someone mentions his contract. It's like if at any point someone's like $65 million, huh? It's like, no, God, like that's so. And I kind of feel the same way with DA. Is if no one brings up the money, it's fine. Like if you never get to a point where the criticism involves his bank account, then it's cool because he's probably playing well. But as soon as someone's like, yeah, well, and $35 million, then it becomes an issue. And I totally agree with you. If he was making less money, his skill set, he has some value at his skill set, but it's a salary cap league, and I guess it's a pretty strict salary cap league as it appears in the new world.
No, and I think like you can only your center can only make that much money or like take up that much salary cap if it's like Nikola Jokic. And
right.
If it's not, then like you're doing it backwards.
Agreed. It's just a league that doesn't value that spot, and it values positional versatility, and it values like playmaking is such a valuable skill in the league. And DA just doesn't do that. And I think there's a world in which he makes a different amount of money and he's valued very, very differently, but it currently just kind of is. It is what it is. Let's talk Donovan Clingan and a couple other guys in the third segment. Join me there, won't you? Actually, join both of us because Connor's going to come too. First, I want to tell you that today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. And as we get deeper into the NFL season, it's time to get that big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So you've got a hunch in the middle of a game you're watching. I'm recording this towards the end of Thursday night football here. But say you're tuned in Sunday all day long, or maybe on Monday evening, you're watching games and you got a hunch. You want to live bet the games. Well, FanDuel's making it super easy for you to get in on that action, because right there in the app, the same spot that you place bets, you can get live play-by-play, you can get live stats. So if you got a prop bet you're into, or you want to live bet a quarter or a half or whatever it might be, you can see all the information that you might need all in one spot. Plus, if you're a first-time user, you get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with one $5 bet. So check out America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. Still chatting here with Conor Bergin of Blazers Edge. Conor, what kind of pickup basketball player are you? You said you like to play hoops. If I'm a pass first point guard, what are you?
You're talking to the intramural shootout, 3-point shootout champion at Loyola Chicago.
Let's go. You and Shams Charania, right?
Yeah, he was so I got there the year after he left.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that until last year, which I was like, why weren't like the journalism professors like shouting that through the rooftops?
Because, okay, no, I'm actually redacted. Because redacted. I'm gonna actually not say that on the mic, because I learned it during the Final Four run for the Ramblers. That's who they are, the Ramblers?
Yeah, that was my freshman year of college.
Okay,
yeah.
so him and Mother Jean? Was that her name?
Sister Jean.
Sister Jean.
Now, yeah, Sister Jean.
Sister Jean was like doing interviews with Shams, and I was like, "Yo, this is weird." I was like, "This is a weird thing." So yeah, that's how I learned he was a Rambler, former Rambler great. I knew he was from that area because he kind of came up in the lore of Shams is that he came up covering the Bulls, but they wouldn't give him a credential. So he would drive to Milwaukee because the Bucks would give him a credential. And now he's like the most powerful newsbreaker in the NBA. So hey, your life could change quick. You get that. Once you get in the building, your life could change quick if you make the most of it.
I do want to say one before we move on from pickup basketball. I got to say this since I'm on air. I have made 100 free throws in a row. That is my claim to fame. So
okay, don't foul Conor. If you're playing in one of those if you're playing in the city league and just don't foul him. Just don't foul. Make him make a jumper. So I tell when we play pickup, I say make him shoot. Just make him shoot it. We're not good enough. We're not good enough to foul. We're not good enough to bail him out. To make him shoot it. Come on. But speaking of guys who make about half their free throws, me and Donovan Clingan. No, I probably make like 70% of my free throws. I don't take free throws. I play pickup. I don't play organized basketball.
Exactly. Yeah, we have no numbers for that.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't pick teams by free throws anymore. We've evolved beyond that. Clingan is probably a backup, and he is a backup, but the level of backup he is, I think, is somewhat complicated by the existence of a healthy Rob Williams. Do you want Clingan to play? If Donovan Clingan gets a DNP for the first 2 weeks of his NBA career, are you going to feel okay with that? Like, where are you with Clingan, and what do you think his role should be?
I mean, I would. Yeah, my first reaction is I would not be okay with that. With the DNP. Yeah, just like after summer league, the hype train is going along pretty nicely, and he definitely. Yeah, just I want him to start getting developmental minutes. So between like the center logjam, like I would hope that Robert Williams is the guy getting less minutes, but it seems like they're going to be managing him anyway. So like, I think, like I would hope that Donovan Clingan is getting minutes every night at the very least. Like doesn't have to be like the whole game, but just some.
Right. He was only going to play, 15, 18 minutes at the very most. So we'll see. Like, I mean, you pencil in DeAndre Ayton's going to play 31 or 32 minutes. We can call it 30 for easy math's sake. There's only 18 minutes left. There's only 18 minutes left at center, right? And so, like, there's only so many minutes to go around. But it does sound like they already are not already. They're easing Rob back into playing. I think you probably know this more than me because you were at practice today. They kind of talked about how they might use him. Blazers don't play a preseason game for another week, but it sounds like he's maybe not going to play every night in the preseason. They're going to be slow, like they're going to manage his minutes. Is that what Billups said?
I forget exactly what he said about like preseason games, but he did sit out practice today.
Okay.
And at first I was like, oh, is this a big deal? And then I looked back at what Cronin said on media day, and he literally said he's been playing a lot, not fully cleared. He might miss a practice. Like we might hold him out of practice every now and then. So like this seems like it was just like what the plan was all along. But yeah, like I don't know. Then they said he missed it because of general soreness, not involving the knee, not the knee that was bad. So
well, they're not going to be like, yeah, his knee hurts. They're not going to tell you, but I guess specifically.
Is this a trick are you teaching me a reporting trick right here?
No, I'm just saying the way the Blazers handle injuries. But I will say it's important to note. I think you are making an important note. They specifically said it wasn't his knee. Whether we believe him or not is probably choosing our own adventure. But like specifically saying like it's kind of just like. Yeah, I mean the dude ran around for 2 straight days, and he just hasn't done a lot of basketball.
Yeah,
and the
vibe is like I'm guessing he's not going to play in every preseason game, and like
agreed. And I would be curious whether that carries over to the regular season. It's such a weird thing, right? Like there is this incentive to play Robert Williams so he can play for another team. It's like there's the Blazers have incentive to get Rob Williams on the floor over their 7th overall pick in the NBA draft so they can trade Rob Williams for stuff, right? Because if he's not healthy, he's like he's not untradeable, right? But he's just his trade value is very, very limited. But if he plays and is good and healthy, then he has some trade value because he's a good basketball player. That's like one of the tricks of it, but he can't be a good basketball player if they don't get him out on the court and let him go. So it's such a weird thing. So I'm with you. Like I want to see Klingon. I want to see him play. Yeah. Like what's the freaking point of this?
We're going to lose so many games. And like we just talked about not thinking Aiden is the answer and talking about Williams is probably going to be traded. So it's like, well then, yeah, like play this guy if he's going to be here for, so many
totally.
years.
And you like Cronin talks about patience and he talks about it a lot, but he says we have the luxury of patience at media day. And I was like, okay, until you don't, that's the thing about it. You do until you don't. And it's like, you can, there is a value of time, right? Like if I don't think it's a huge deal if Donovan Klingon is like a rare occurrence, the first 20 games of his career. But like that means you only get 62 games. Like it's a finite amount, right? Like if Donovan Klingon isn't a regular part of the rotation till Christmas, you don't get those 30 games back, right? You don't get those developmental minutes back. You've just punted on them because you had to do something else. Probably doesn't matter in like the grand scheme, but for this particular team, I don't get it. But
yeah, not
like
ideal.
The roster is the roster is the roster. It doesn't like they kind of just have to. Health will change things, but when you have a bunch of one position guys, DeAndre Ayton, Rob Williams, Donovan Klingon, it's not like you can move the chess pieces around and be creative. They kind of just have to play center. Speaking of which, are you excited to see the 2 big lineups? Are you
not believing all this hype about the combinations that Billups is going to deploy? Because they keep talking about
he can and should try it, but the idea. Listen, I'm going to try to be as political as possible here. I've been reading a lot about politics the last couple of weeks, so I'm going to try to do my best here. I would be surprised if many of my colleagues watched DeAndre Ayton defend the way he was capable of last season and said, yeah, dude, put him out on the perimeter and see what happens. Like I think on offense, you might be so big and so good at rebounding that you could really steal some possessions, offensive rebounding, and that the shooting might not be a huge problem because you could go grab bricks with 2 7-footers, right? Like you could kind of juice the shooting issues with with being big. And I think DeAndre Ayton shoots from 17 feet really, really well. And I think he'll be able to get that shot off without a ton of space, and it should be fine. On defense in the modern NBA, when teams see someone they can attack in the pick and roll, you know what they do? They spread your ass out and attack you. And I just don't think they can survive with two centers on the court that often. I know some teams
right now.
Yeah, I know some teams do it, but I just don't look at DeAndre Ayton and see as a guy who can play the four. I know so many of our friends and our peers, they see someone take jump shots and they say, power forward.
I was like, when you said, I was like, wow, yeah, I hadn't thought too much about the defense yet. I just was thinking about, he's got the mid range, and then Klingon can do the dunker spot, and they'll be fine or whatever. So
I actually don't think it on offense it'll be that big of a deal. I'm much more concerned about it on the spacing on defense. So few teams play a traditional power forward now. Against some teams, and I guess you lost the T-Wolves. That was a team that I think you should try it against, and maybe still with Julius Randle, because he's like one of the few like true fours left. One of the last true fours left in the league. Bless Julius Randle, a dying breed. But like, and the Knicks were going to play him at center. That's like the proof of the position dying. But it's like, I just think the spacing is going to be really challenging with two bigs out there, and I wouldn't love it.
Yeah, no, that's. I think you're right. You
okay, but
like.
Okay, prior to that though, were you intrigued by it? Prior to my rant, were you intrigued?
I was, but more in like the way of like, I never thought it was going to be like their bread and butter, like
right.
I just saw it as like, oh, maybe some spot minutes one night, and like maybe throw out like, what? I love Dwap Reith. That's my guy. Mm-hmm. I was like, let's see Dwap Reith out there with Klingon one night or whatever, like have him just be camped in the corner sniping threes. But yeah, I never thought it was going to be like a big like chess move that Chauncey was going to play.
Right. I would agree with you though. Like, I think they should give it some run. Like, I think they owe it to the situation that the franchise is in to be like, sure, let's try it. Like, say they give it like 4 minutes in the middle of the second quarter and they get thrashed. That's fine. That's fine for the 2024 Portland Trailblazers to get thrashed for 4 minutes in the second quarter. Like we talked about up top, this is a data year, right? Like, get the data. And if it looks terrible, use that going forward. If it looks like, okay, here are 3 tweaks we could make to make it a little better, give it a real, even if you know that it won't work, give it some real effort, give it some real run, because why the hell not?
Yeah. No, yeah. And like you said about like the rebounding, like maybe they just kill them on the boards for 4 minutes in a good way. And like,
right. Yeah. I mean, the Bulls last year played Andre Drummond and Nikola Vucevic together. And it was, for a good chunk of the season, a positive lineup. It ended up being a slight negative. It was like but it was a slight positive lineup. It ended up slipping from neutral to negative by the end of the year. But it's not like those dudes can guard in space. Like, like Andre Drummond would start if he could do that, if he could guard in space at all over the last like 5 years. He's been kind of like relegated to a minimum guy because of the defensive challenges. Like, so, give it a shot. Maybe you can pull off some sort of Vucevic Drummond magic where it's like a net neutral lineup. And heck, on this Blazers team, a neutral pairing might be pretty good. That might be pretty good. If you find a net neutral pairing, that's like, hey, we should try that again. Conor, thank you so much for joining the program. I appreciate it. If folks are looking for more of your work, where can they find it?
Yeah, Blazers Edge, SB Nation. We're very excited about this year. Dave Deckard, been doing this forever, super knowledgeable. My guy Tim A is doing some really good coverage about the TV situation. We just added Brandon Goldner on as an editor, and Adrian Bernenschitz does columns every Saturday. So just Blazers Edge. We do stuff every day. Yeah,
it is the longest running Blazers blog, has given us such greats as Lance Uppercut and Ben Golliver. So go check them out. If you're a Blazer fan, I'm sure you know what it is, but Conor's doing really good work over there, and he's going to be in the building covering the team. So he's going to give you more perspective from inside the Moda Center, and apparently out at the PF at the practice facility as well. Dear listeners, here's what we do. We do 5 of these every single week, Monday through Friday, wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. The season is fast approaching. We're still a week away from a true preseason game, but it's here. So if you like the podcast, tell your friends about the program. Tell them they can get it wherever they get podcasts and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.